With these Pro Minute video series, Dr. Klee will share some of his secrets with you on how to become a better flutist.
Hello, my name is Dr. David Klee. Welcome to another Pro Minute. Today we're going to talk about step 2 for jazz improvisation on a flute. In the first video, we talked about basic chord structure, how to pick out the chord tones, and then also how the corresponding scale. So if you're that far along, the next thing would be coming up with basic melodies. What I like to do is I like to think simple and grow with it. Typically what happens when you're doing an improv, and I was no different when I started out, I wanted to see how many notes could I put in a minute when I improvised. And so everything sounded like, nothing ever made sense. And it wasn't until somebody, a really great jazz musician, sat me down and said, "Yeah, you got incredible technique. Let's see if we can make some sense out of what you're playing, though." So he had to start me back at ground zero. And that's what I'm going to do here. So you got your basic chords, you got your basic scales, you know what's going on. Next thing I like to do is, let's say you're doing 12-bar blues. I would come up with a motif, and let's see through the changes if you can keep that motif throughout. And then what you do as you play the motif through the different through the different chords, then what you do, you gradually morph, add, invert, twist, and change. And then what it does, it's slowly developing. And if you do it right, it really makes for some interesting lines. So basically, let's just say I'm starting There's my 12-bar blues. And all I did, I took that basic motif and then I just gradually morphed and added, depending upon the chord I was on at the moment, and yet it all fit, it was all musical. And I think most young jazzers don't do enough of this. They just want to instantly get in and see how many notes can I play per beat. And at the bottom line, it makes no sense. I've been lucky enough, I've been in some master classes with some of the finest jazz players on the planet. And I can assure you, yes, they could probably play more notes in a minute than I could probably play in a lifetime. They're so fantastic. But it's not how much they played, it's what they played. Every note, every single note fit. Every note was tasty. Every note had a place, it had a purpose. And that's what you want to do when you improv. So again, what you would think about here, come up with a basic motif, build the motif, grow with the motif, and at the end of the, let's say, 12-bar blues, you're finally going to conclude your motif and hand off to the next soloist. And that's your goal. So again, you think, build a motif, grow with the motif, morph it, work with it within the chord structure, and finally come to a conclusion with it, be ready to hand off to the next person. So this is the kind of stuff that makes for a good improver. Depending upon where you live, I would wholeheartedly suggest you go out and you do it. Sit in anywhere and everywhere. Sit in all kinds of music. If it's a Latin music, sit in with them. If it's just basic jazz, if people are just getting together to jam, sit in. Don't be intimidated just because you're a flute player. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how fast you can get into what's going on there. Jazz flutists today out in the world to listen to that I would suggest, obviously, the great Latin flutist Nestor Torres. There's another, Dave Valentine. There's, that I grew up with people named Hubert Laws and Herbie Mann. Believe it or not, their CDs are out there. Hubert Laws is still alive. He's still rocking and rolling. He's probably one of the finest classically trained jazz flutists on the planet. And I would wholeheartedly suggest you go find some of his CDs. Hubert Laws, incredible, incredible flutist. And you need to listen, you need to listen, you need to listen. You need to practice, and between the two, you'll become a fine jazzer. This is Dr. David Klee, and thank you.